Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and today I'm going to be starting off a new series that I'm calling Rapid Reviews. Now, I'm going to use this new, newscaster format. I enjoyed doing this in my video on inserts, so we'll see how this goes. Basically, I have a lot of games that I'd like to review, that I'd like to talk about, but doing a full review on them is kind of a lot of work. So this one, I'm going to try to kind of hit some of the main points of the review, and that way I can still talk about some of these games that I kind of want to sell and move on from, and hopefully give you guys a good idea of kind of what I thought about them, if they're worth seeking out for you. And ideally call out some of these flaws that maybe haven't been called out in other reviews. That's going to be very important in today's review because I'm going to be kicking off this series with Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze. Now, this is the co-op version of the Unmatched series. So, if you don't know, Unmatched is a card dueling game with also a positioning element. So you have a board on the table with these circles that represent different regions of the board, and essentially you're moving your hero around on that board to try to be close enough if you need to be melee, or at least be in the same region if you're a range character, and then you do your attacks and you're trying to eliminate your opponent. Overall, the system is a hand management game. Each hero has their own unique deck of cards, and you are working on trying to manage your playstyle. And then each hero also has their own unique abilities and their unique system for how their cards work. Like there's Little Red Riding Hood, who has a cool system of the top card of her discard pile will be able to potentially trigger effects on other cards in your hand. So you're trying to organize basically they call it your basket. You're trying to get the right ingredients in your basket to be able to do more powerful attacks. Now, there's all sorts of variability in the Unmatched systems, and I think that's probably one of the things that people love about Unmatched. Now, the Tales to Amaze takes this kind of head-to-head experience and turns it into a co-op experience. In the box, you get two bosses, which represent two different scenarios that you can play. Each boss comes with his own unique map and unique set of rules on how you need to achieve victory. Basically, they're both like defeat the boss, but there's some things going on the map where the boss is working towards their own victory condition, and you need to try to slow them down and take them out before they achieve their victory condition. The game actually plays very similar to Unmatched. It's impressive how well they did with carrying this game over. And it's still a hand management game. It still has that tension of trying to manage your hand, because one of the things in Unmatched is that if your deck runs out, it's not a deck builder. You don't get to reshuffle your discard pile. This is where your hero has basically become fatigued, and you're going to just start taking damage until the game ends. And it's kind of like each Unmatched game, like they're never going to drag on. You're never going to be healing, shuffling, and doing all this stuff. It's like you need to get through that game before your deck runs out, or you're in a lot of trouble. So Unmatched Tales to Amaze here does a great job of kind of carrying that experience over. So that leads me into talking about what's good about this game. First up, great job of adapting the system. The other thing is that the box comes with 4 interesting heroes. These are all, I would say, maybe you're not going to have a connection to these heroes. Like, I don't have a connection to, Tesla, I think is interesting to throw in there. But then the Annie Christmas, and then you have Golden Bat. It was interesting to learn about Golden Bat as like the Japanese superhero. And I can't even remember the last one off the top of my head now. Maybe I'll throw a photo up in my little newscaster screen here. But overall, I think it's cool that they have the 4 heroes that come in this box. And the other one is the 2 enemies. Like, I think it's really cool that they have 2 different scenarios in the box. Like, a lot of times you get a co-op game, it's like, oh, this is the same thing over and over again. So I think it's nice that there's that variability already thrown into this. The other thing is that the hand management system is still very strong in this. Like, it represents the Unmatched system, and what you're trying to do in Unmatched. It stays core to that system. Like, it's still driving you to be really good at managing hand, triggering your abilities, and trying to make sure your deck doesn't run out, and managing the pacing of the game. Then for the games that I've played of this so far, I would say the difficulty is pretty well balanced. I actually think I've lost most of the games I've played of this, which is where I tend to lean on co-ops. Like, I don't want them to be too easy, And I think that this one is in a place where, yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. Like maybe if you change up the heroes you use, but in the base box, I feel like it is pretty well balanced and it comes down to the wire. It has a lot of tension coming into the final stretches of the game, or the final rounds of the game there. Then finally, I want to call out amazing production. Restoration Games, they just do a really good job with producing these games. Like, I really like the minis in this. They look great. They have the wash on them. Mothman has just everything about it looks phenomenal. It is a great looking game, and I have the deluxe version, so that makes it even better. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way because essentially I want to make sure I get across that this is a good co-op game. This is a pretty solid one. Like, it's definitely one that I've enjoyed my plays of. But this is a co-op genre that I am not crazy about. And that's because of some of the flaws that I'm about to mention. Like, let's start with the fact that this is an open information co-op game. So players do not have to hide their cards from each other. You can freely communicate about anything in the game, which means that, yes, it is possible for everyone to know everything about the game state at any given point in the game. And this leads into the common co-op issue of the quarterbacking issue, which I discussed a little bit in my co-op paradox video. And yes, I do think that this could be a problem in that game. It's very possible. I'd say there's definitely kind of a lot, and if you don't know the other characters' decks, then this probably isn't going to be a big issue in your beginning games, because you would literally have to go over and like read their cards to understand what their characters' abilities are or whatever. So I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. It's going to be more of an issue if one player has played all 4 characters, they know what they can do, and then they can take control of the table. I'm just saying that there's no guardrails against that. And that's not really, I don't think that's a huge issue for me. Like, I don't think my group struggles a whole lot with quarterbacking. It's just in that state, I don't like co-op games with full information. And this comes down to the next problem that I have with full open information games, is the fact that you could spend forever debating on the next move. And I just get bored. Like, that's the truth of it. This is more of a me problem than the game problem. It is something that I don't enjoy debating every aspect of it. I don't enjoy someone being, oh, I got these 2 cards. This one I can do 3 damage and it has this ability, and this one I can do 4 damage and it has this other ability though. So which one do you guys think is going to be better? Is it going to be better for me to do this one? I'm just like, just choose a card. Just play one. Just play one. So just play a card so we can get to someone else's turn. So yeah, like I said, this is possibly a me issue, because a lot of people do love this game, and I imagine there's a lot of groups that are not going to have that type of experience with these fully open information co-op games. Now, just to call out that, like, I'm not totally biased on this. Like, I do really enjoy playing Spirit Island. I think at 2 players, Spirit Island is amazing. I'm starting to play it a little bit at 3 players. I think once everyone knows the game, and as long as everyone has the ability to kind of play the game on their own and do things that you think are going to be good for the table, like, yeah, I think it plays great. I think the same is going to be true of Tales to Amaze. If you let everyone if everyone is like, I'm confident in my decisions and I can do this, I think it'd be a great experience. It's just, yeah, diving into the weeds, debating about every little action. It's just like this game that should take 60 minutes could drag on to 2 hours if you're in that type of group. And that's something I just can't abide for in my co-op games. Now, this brings up to my next point, is that at 4 players, obviously this is going to be more of a problem at 4 players. You can have more debating, more talking. But another issue pops up, is that the map becomes very tight at 4 players. Because you're going to have your 4 players, you're going to have minions for most of the players, you're going to have, or sidekicks for most of the players, so they have their hero, their sidekick token, then you're going to have 1 minion for each player, and then you have the boss character. So that's going to be 8, 12, I don't know, somewhere between like 10 and 14 tokens, spaces that are taken up on the board. So figuring out how to go into the right positions without blocking another character from getting into their position to be able to do their attack, it turns into this kind of annoying puzzle of being like, oh, I'm going to move over here. And then one person's like, oh, don't move there. I need to be there. And then they're like, well, okay, well, I'll move over here. And then another player's like, oh, are you sure you need me to move there? Is that the spot you need to be? I might need to go into that spot. So this falls under that same issue that I just mentioned, that kind of constant debating. But at 4 players, it just becomes exasperated because you not only have the players maybe saying what is the most optimal play for me, but also players debating out what is the most optimal positioning, so you don't block out other players' routes and stuff. So yeah, that's just something that it's kind of, let's say it's a pet peeve of mine in co-op games, is the fact that fully open games kind of can run aground into that just slowed down pacing of the constant kind of debate and planning, which I think some groups enjoy that. That's not something I want to get out of games. That's why I tend to lean towards more of the closed information co-op games where people have their own set of information and it's your job to try to figure out what their information is without actually knowing their information. Okay, so next up is just that some turns can be a little lackluster in this game, especially since you have a variable turn order. And I actually like this variable turn order. I've seen some complaints about it where essentially you have an initiative deck, you shuffle it up, and it'll tell you when a player goes versus when the boss, minion or a boss goes. So you flip the top card, and then that thing or person does their actions. And sometimes this can cause you to kind of be in a state where maybe the minions go before you, you lose some cards, maybe some bad things happen, and one player gets delegated to kind of playing support. It's like they don't get to do the most fun thing they want to do because they need to either tank some damage or do something to help someone else out, and it's not bad. Like, that is the co-op experience, right? You're playing as a team, so your actions are trying to align with the needs of the team. But I would say that it just sometimes doesn't really feel that fun, like especially when you feel like your options have been kind of taken away from you and you're just kind of like shoehorned into this one path. And I feel like that's something that you never want in a game. You never want to just be forced into a decision. You always want to have that open decision space, and you want to be able to kind of make your best. We want to be able to plan out your choice and say, this I think is my best option for this game in this moment. And yeah, when that's taken away, I would say those turns fall flat. And those turns do happen in this game, at least for me and some of my friends. That's what we felt in some of these experiences. Okay, so this leads me into my biggest complaint on this game, and that is it's the AI. So the AI works, but you're fighting a random deck. Like, that is what you're doing. You're fighting a random deck of cards. Now, I want to make sure I call out that they did a fantastic job of designing this and keeping the game streamlined. Like, I think there's some really cool things to learn from this game for co-op game design, especially with the bosses having a simplified deck. They still do the same things as like a normal hero deck, but they're more simplified, and they actually have a card that will cause them to reshuffle their deck. So you don't know when they're going to be reshuffling that deck and adding those cards back into their draw deck. And this just makes the game very simple. And then also they included a thing where it's like, if there's ever any kind of edge cases or like decisions where you have like two equal choices or whatever, the book just says, we leave it up to the players to decide, choose what's best for you. And I think that doing this streamlined, while it takes away the burden of having the rules of being like, oh, we have a rule for when this happens and a rule for when this happens and a rule for when this happens. So instead of having each one of those rules well defined in it, it's just like, just choose what's best for the players, so you get a more streamlined experience. And also, the difficulty is pretty hard, so I think that allowing you that choice is really good in the game. Like, it is needed in this game. So a lot of those streamlined experiences with the AI, I think, is just fantastic. They did a really good job with this design. But when it comes down to it, you are still fighting a random deck. There are some tools to kind of mitigate this randomness. There are some ways to look at the top card of a deck or maybe mill through the enemy deck in a way. So some of those things are there to kind of help you mitigate that randomness. But the thing that I loved, or well, I shouldn't even say loved, because I've enjoyed Unmatched. I don't think I've had a amazing experience playing any Unmatched games. It's just kind of like, oh, this is fun. But the thing that stands out to me in those Unmatched games is the combat. So during combat, if you play an attack card, you're going to play that face down, and the defender has an opportunity to also play a defense card face down. So this is where you come up with that simultaneous reveal phase. And I think this is just the best part about Unmatched, because you're going to be saying, oh, ooh, do I play if you're the attacker, do you play your strongest attack card? Do you worry that, oh, they have a lot of cards in their hand? Are you worried that they're going to be able to maybe cancel the special text effect, or they're going to play a big defense card? Do you need to bluff them first? Maybe you need to play a weaker attack first, or maybe play something medium to try to draw them into playing one of their stronger cards and be like, ooh, I'm going to do like a medium attack that seems like they should be blocking it, and then, play a bigger attack next time. Then as you play your opponent head-to-head more often, you start to learn each other's behaviors, and then you start to have different ideas of when you should play certain cards as you're blocking versus you're attacking. So you turn into this, and then as you learn the heroes and you learn their decks, you start to learn their capabilities, and you can kind of start planning your plays around those capabilities. So you still don't have full control, but you are playing head-to-head against that opponent and that opponent's behaviors. And I think that's kind of the thing that makes Unmatched shine for me, is that you are playing an actual human with emotions and with ideas of what's going to be best, and you're going to be trying to determine what is their judgment of you and what is your judgment of them, and trying to figure out what the best card is to play in that situation. But in Tales to Amaze, you're going to play a card face down, and then you're just going to flip that over and flip the top card of the enemy deck and see what happens. Takes away all that enjoyable kind of thinking and counter and, I don't know, maybe bluffing or trying to trick your opponent into doing a certain action or setting up for the next turn. Because I found that in Tales to Amaze, my decision kind of boils down to, it's just kind of like, well, I'll do the most damage possible. There's not really another decision to be made, because I'm fighting a random AI deck. It's like it's either going to hit or it's not. And one of the other worst things is that in the Mothman deck, there's just cards that are just like, you flip it over and it's just like, cancel your card. It's like, well, that just nullified my turn. And that's actually one of my biggest complaints on this, is that I find that nullifying a player's turn that's not great game design. It makes the player kind of feel like, well, that was wasted. Why did I do that? Maybe they just lost one of their best cards, and it's just like, oh, that was no fun. I mean, that's part of the Unmatched experience, but when an opponent does it to me, when an opponent cancels my text and I'm like, ah, son of a gun, that was a good play, that's exciting. When an AI deck does that to me, it's like, well, that sucks. like, okay, next person's turn. I didn't do anything. So I feel that there's nothing wrong with this design. Like I said, I think this system is well adapted. It just comes down to the fact that, yeah, you're fighting a random card draw instead of an actual person, which for me changes that experience in a fundamental way. So this is just one of those things where, like I said, it takes away the part of the game that for me is the interesting decision. On one end, I want to continue playing Unmatched Tales to Amaze, to continue exploring it. I think that there are some cool things in there. But on the other hand, it's just because there's that most interesting part of Unmatched has been taken away from me, and the co-op experience can kind of fall flat, especially with all that debating and all the positioning, especially at that 4-player. Maybe this will shine a little bit more for me at 2 players if I decide to keep it around. But if I'm going to play it at 2 players, I'm kind of just like, well, why don't I just play Unmatched normal version? I know that some people don't like the head-to-head experience, the direct conflict, the damaging the opponent and taking them down to 0 health. I know that even those fictional conflicts can cause some people stress, and the co-op is where they want to play, they want to stay in that zone, which is totally fine. Like, people can enjoy that experience. But for me, it's just that I get the more tension, better decisions, more interesting decisions in that head-to-head experience of Unmatched. So even if Tales to Amaze is going to be a better experience at 2 players versus 4 players, once I get down to that 2-player count, it's like, well, I'm going to just play the head-to-head version. So because of that, Tales to Amaze is not staying in my collection. I will be selling it in the near future at a con here, and I'm kind of sad to see it go, because while it is a game that I don't enjoy playing. I can see why people have given it so much praise. So that's going to do it for my, let's call it the rapid review, right? Talked a lot on that, so maybe not so rapid. But I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that this provided you with a little more information about this game. And I kind of wanted to start with this game on this rapid review before I sold it and got rid of it out of my collection because of all the positive praise it's received. I feel like sometimes people are a little too accepting of a game's flaws, and we need to be a little more open to calling those flaws out. So even for a game that I find enjoyable and I think other people will enjoy, it's worthwhile calling out why this game just isn't for me and isn't staying in my collection. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you played this game and you have different experiences. Let me know if you played this game and maybe kind of like me, were excited for it and kind of got a little let down. I'd be more than interested in hearing about those experiences. So as always, thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you for watching. And I am excited to kind of get going with this series. So we'll see what happens next. Talk to you next time.